Hello and welcome back to season 3 of the Let's Face It podcast. Today we're joined by a very, very special guest. I guess that we've probably trying to get on for a wee while. Someone that I suppose is an inspiration to a lot of people around West Belfast with not only with the work that he has done in the boxing ring, but more importantly the work that he's doing now to inspire the next generation coming through the city. And I suppose we've had people throughout the whole podcast, like, you know, very first guest Mick Conlon. We all know he's a very special friend of Let's Face It, with Paddy Barnes, with all different types of role models from all different walks of life, but with an Olympic medalist and someone that we'll probably go way back, but sort of probably lost contact after school days. But it's great to nearly like a full circle moment coming back today and meeting each other. We'll have Aidan Walsh. But again, a huge thanks to Used Cars NI for supporting this season. Your support is greatly appreciated, Anthony and all the team. Without the support of businesses and local businesses and helping produce this podcast, all this crack wouldn't be possible with Sean and these new fancy lights and all we have and all that crack. So no, I really appreciate it. Really appreciate the support of Used Cars NI. The best place to go and sell your car. If you're a dealer, you can go on, you get an account, use that as your platform to sell your cars. But if you're just an ordinary Joe Blogs on the street, you can go on, look up whatever car you need to get, whatever car you need to buy, and yeah, you'll be sorted out there. And likewise, if you want to sell your car, just use that platform. It's so easy just to log on, put the photos on, and it does the rest for you. So a huge thanks to Used Cars NI. So hit them up, www.usedcarsni.com, for all your car needs, sell and ban, all that crack. So yeah, thanks to Anthony and team. I really appreciate it. But Aidan, what's the crack?
Good,
I'm getting good at that.
You're absolutely amazing. I was going to say I need to ask you for a few tips, but thanks very much for having me on. Don't always watch it every week. I'm always watching, and like it's incredible just to even to have me on. So thank you very much, Domhnall.
No bother. And I think I want to talk about like loads of things. Like, and I was watching your clip this morning of the wee keynote speech that you were doing. But again, as from afar, like from, you know, you always take. I talked to Marty Ray. You know, Marty Ray was our PE teacher growing up in school, and I suppose there's always a special connection with people. And I know you left school the 5th year and stuff like that, but there's kind of like a LaSalle sort of identity and sort of like an ethos and sort of and you can see that in the way you present yourself and the way you talk, and the big word for the day I'm going to use is energy, and that's what I would put your name with. It's just that energy, and you can feel it in the infectious. It's so infectious. Whenever I reached out to you a couple of weeks ago, like the voice note that I got, I was just like, fuck. You know, I was sitting on the edge of my seat. I'm sure you've probably heard that from a few different people. And that's something that, you know, obviously comes from the roots you're involved in. You know, I spent a few hours in Jim Co sauna with your dad.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can even feel it off him. Obviously, the progress of your sister Michaela. You know, we'll talk about all that as we go through. But I suppose, like, the whole idea of this podcast is sort of getting an idea of people's journeys. And, you know, even though you're an Olympic medalist, Commonwealth, you know, all this so successful in what you're doing now, but it hasn't all been sunshine and rainbows. And I think we were speaking there before we started recording about, and we'll talk about it most weeks, Aidan, as you probably know, about perceptions. And I look at you now, I'm probably a bit better looking at people now who are successful with types of self-awareness and the work that I've done on myself. But in the past, I probably would have looked and went, Jesus, he has his whole life all sorted out and he's perfect because he went to the Olympics and everything's all sunshine and rainbows. But it's not always the case. But yeah, the whole idea of this podcast is maybe just to get into that and maybe start from the start and tell me and tell, I suppose, some of the listeners might not know who you are, of who you are, and I suppose where you came from and who you came from and what life was like, I suppose, growing up at early stages for you.
Yeah, so don't know, like I was born and raised in West Belfast, just in Brook Drive, just off Blacks Road there, and I grew up there my whole life. I went to nursery in St Michael's, just in the top of Andersonstown, went to primary school in St John the Baptist, and then secondary school in LaSalle. So that area in like Andersonstown, West Belfast, is always something special to me because I grew up there, my friends there and family there, and went to school there. So for me, it holds a really special place in my heart. No matter where you travel to in the world, you always love getting back to where you're from, and you know yourself, obviously, but going and doing things, you love always getting back home. So I grew up there, Domhnall, and like any young kid, like I was just out messing about, having fun. Looking back, probably done a few mad things, but it's all harmless at the time. But like looking back, like I had a great childhood. I had a really good childhood. I was really, really fortunate that I had a good family, good parents. Like when I like growing up, like my dad got me into boxing, and like it just was a whole snowball effect from there. Like even like my dad went to La Salle as well, so I think growing up, obviously he was born in a different time and things were maybe a bit harder back then, and we got it a bit easier. But like La Salle growing up was a tough school, and I think getting into boxing at a young age, that was sort of protecting me going into that school of having some type of self-defense. And like growing up, I always look back at it, as if I was so fortunate. Like going into Snagg's boxing club when I was 7 years of age, Domhnall, I met the likes of Manuel Cadell, God rest him. Manuel was a huge influence in my life, like someone who really looked after me in school, and his younger brother Ran, who I'd be good friends with, like yourself, and his other brother Sean Paul, like Manuel and Sean Higgies and Aaron Rooney and other people like that. It was really important for me to meet them at a young age. Like I remember getting into La Salle, the old school, when the first year we went in, and there was the big banks, and I always remember all like the second and third years, we'd have threw all the first years off the banks, and I would have been standing there, and I would have been with Manuel and the other ones, and because I knew them and through the boxing, I never got touched. So for me, that was my first realisation of like having good positive role models in your life, people looking after you, and I just feel really fortunate. And since then, like role models and people who influenced me in my own life, I think from that early young age, I think that really, really opened my eyes to how important it is to have good role models.
So important, and we talked about it there. I even said there before we started talking or recording about sometimes you have to disassociate to reassociate to find your new path or find people who's in alignment with your values to push on in life. And you probably only found that on later on in life in your boxing career too. Like, but like you mentioned there, even going into like the boxing club, like 7 years of age. Do you remember that?
Yeah, like.
And what was that sort of feeling? Did you know, like explain that?
Yeah, so like even when my dad brought me down back then, there was no girls boxing at all.
Right.
Like it was a completely male dominated sport of like males, and that was it. And the first ever sort of feeling that I got walking through, I remember a guy training and the gym was that cold and he was sweating that much. I remember the steam actually coming off him. It was like something like from like a Rocky movie. That's what I describe it as, like a Rocky movie. And the condensation was on the walls and the smell of the gloves. It was a real old school gym. And my dad always had Rocky on when we were kids, so straight away I associated this is Rocky, this is real life. And from that, like even now as I'm talking to you, like I'm probably getting goosebumps there because it's I can still sense all them sensations of what it was like. And that was at 7 years of age, and so I was going there for a few weeks and going in and out of it, and my mates were coming along, and my dad he got into a bit of coaching because he had boxed there when he was a young man, and he knew all the coaches. So then Michaela, my sister, she ended up seeing me going down, and then she says, "Frick, I want to go down, Daddy, can I go down?" And he was like, "Michaela, there's no girls allowed," like, and that, and it was because there wasn't. And he says, "But I'll certainly ask the coach." And he asked the coach, Sean Canavan, and Sean says, "Absolutely, bring her down." And then the rest was history from there. Like,
that's mental, isn't it?
Crazy,
like, and suppose, like, so you started off that journey more or less with Michaela by your side, like?
Yeah, absolutely. And she was always a few years older,
right?
So she was always that bit stronger than me, that bit faster. So I straight away from the get go, I was playing catch up. Like it was like she was always able to do things better than me. So that always give me this sort of motivation to be like, I want to do it better. But even back then, don't know, like as I say, I was 7, 8. So Michaela was a wee bit older, and we used to go runs and stuff and training. And Michaela was out training all the boys. She was out training everyone. All the boys back then, like they would tell you, like Michaela was the hardest trainer from the get go. So straight away, again, having that as a good role model to say, my sister, she's training all these people who I look up to. She's actually training harder than them. And so again, I was very, very lucky to have her as a role model too. And a lot of the stuff, Domhnall, in my life, and the reason that I've got a wee bit of success is because of the values that I got from Michaela from that early age. And that's the God's honest truth. And I'm just so fortunate. Like I have Michaela. She always kept me in the right route. She was always, if someone was to say to you, like, who is the perfect example of an athlete, I would say my sister Michaela. Like, and that's the God's honest truth. And later down the line, maybe those same attributes caused me a bit of trouble because it was so in depth and it was so focused on boxing, and they got me the success. But like without Michaela, like my career would have never have got anywhere near where it got to, Domhnall. That's
incredible. And what about even success then growing up? So you're going in there, you're 7, 8, 9, 10 years of age, and then you obviously go into your novices and I'm no boxing expert, but I think I've had that many conversations with the boxers, I feel like, you know. But in terms of like, you know, them novice competitions, what was your underage sort of career successful, or was like I often talk to people who are on and have done relatively well, had a relative success, and the quote that comes to mind whenever you mention Michaela and I mention you is like the famous one about hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, and that's what I'm sort of grasping here, that it wasn't all sort of talent, it was a graft. Like, was it, did you have successes early on, or was it more? Even Paddy Barnes, he was saying he could beat in his first 9 fights. Yeah. And I was like, what? And then you became I found it very hard to get my head around that, because team sports is so different. We were so successful growing up, won everything, but now we can't even make a breakthrough and get a senior championship at club level. So I'm going to myself, was that success good success because of the level we were at, in terms of, did we not feel like we didn't need to work hard enough? Maybe that them defeats were the best thing that ever happened to Paddy Barnes. What was it like for you growing up in terms of winning medals early on in your childhood?
So again, don't know, like, and this comes back to having a good role model. When we were in St Agnes's, my dad, he worked with a guy called Alistair McFadden who he worked with, and Alistair was a coach in the Holy Family. So, and this is where it's still at a young age, and Michaela couldn't get sparring because she was a girl. And so Alistair said to my dad, well, I have a young lad in the Holy Family, I'll bring him over to spar Michaela. And so my dad was like, yes, that's dead on. So Alistair brought the young lad over, and it ended up getting into the gym, and the coaches at St Agnes then says, no, there's like a boy's not sparring a girl. So we stuck the guy, the lad in from the Holy Family with the guy from St Agnes's, and that was dead on. So the next day in work, I said to my dad, sure, bring Michaela over to the Holy Family and we can spar over there and get a few rounds in. So my dad said yes, 100%. And so we went over to the Holy Family, Domhnall, and as soon as we opened the doors and walked in, we knew like it was just a completely different atmosphere. And it turned out the young lad who was sparring was Ran Burnett. Right. So that's who ended up sparring Michaela. So we ended up going and staying there in the Holy Family. And then this whole thing led to Ran Burnett being my next sort of person to look up to. So we would have been sparring me and Michaela every night with Ran Burnett. And Ran Burnett's a huge part of my success. Also, again, I've just been so fortunate, Domhnall, like honestly, just to have real good positive role models in life. And Ran Burnett was one of them, especially at that age. Because I was at about 11 then. So I was sparring with Ran every night, and I was getting into competitions, and I had like no fights. I was still a novice, but I was just stopping people because I'd been sparring Ran so much, and he was obviously at a high level, and I was always learning off him. So I just felt like I was miles ahead of everybody who I was competing against, and I was just stopping everybody, and it was just sort of like, frick, this is amazing. So again, a lot of that was down to Ran Burnett, because I was getting all the wee tips and tricks from him, and he was then competing at like youth Olympics. He was actually youth world champion, youth Olympic gold medalist and stuff like that. So I was constantly learning off him, and then Paddy was there as well. So you were sparring with Paddy. So I constantly felt, Domhnall, like I was miles above so many people. And then in the first year, I just went through everything, and I got to the final of the All Irelands, and I fought a fella. I fought a fella about 2 months before in Antrim versus Dublin, and I beat the guy. His name was Johnny Joyce by 1 point, and so I was dead on. Got to the All Irelands, and it's my first ever All Irelands, and I was set to win it. Like it was like I'm just going through everybody. Went like it's gonna be no hassle, and I got down and I got beat 1-0, 1 point, and it was literally 1 point. He caught me in the second round, and my head shot back, and then that was it over. So that was that, and then you sort of think it's the end of the world. Don't know, boy one, it's like, my career's over, and you're crying and things like that, and you take it extremely hard. And then the year after that, I came back and I won it. Then the next year I lost it, and then the next year I come back and I won it. Next year I lost it, and it just went like that. I don't know, for like the first 5-6 years of my life, it was nothing. If someone had said to you back then, do you think Aidan will go on and do well? Like, you probably would have said no, because he's not consistent. He's sort of winning. Yo-yo, he's fading off, and then he's coming back, he's fading off. And that's just the way my career was from a young age, don't know. And I was always, I was in it, and I was out of it. I was in it, I was out of it, and it was sort of like I really just wasn't consistent in terms of winning. I was always in the gym and stuff, but I was just yo-yoing. And for me, it was just got to about 16 or 17, and it was like I started to get injured, and again I was like, what do I do with my life? And I got through to school, and I was like, what's happening? And I didn't really know what to do. And then lucky enough, the Youth Commonwealth Games, they were around that time. And then I got selected to go to them, and that was a huge turning point. Because
do you think that was like a definitive moment, as in like I could have a go at boxing here, or did that come later on, do you think?
No, like that was it, don't know, because whenever I went to the Youth Commonwealth Games, there was 5 of us, and that was in a wee place called Samoa, and it was me, James McGivern, Brad McGinty, Stephen McKenna, and Tiernan Bradley. There was only 5 of us, and 5 of us got to the final, and 3 of us won gold medals. And after that, it was sort of way like, geez, I can compete at a level of like beating certain fighters from like different parts of the world, and going into the high performance, like with John Connon and Damien Kennedy, they were running it, and you were seeing that high performance culture, and that was it like when I was 18. So for me, that at that moment, it was sort of way like, this is what I want to do. That gave me a sort of a taster, and even though it was only youth games, it wasn't that major, but it sort of gave me that sort of desire to say, I think I want to do this for the next few years. So again, I was really lucky the way I just happened to be that age and the right age to qualify for that tournament, and I was just really lucky, Domhnall, yeah.
Well, you might see it as luck, but I see it as something completely different than that, to be honest with you. And it's like, maybe fortunate in terms of some of the breaks, but I'd be a big believer. And I think even off like the journey I've been on, I suppose, in the last 4 years, and I was talking to someone this morning about, like, I guess 4 years ago, life was not looking very good for me. Like, and I said the person, my coach, like, you know, I'm very lucky where I am now. And they're like, no, it's not luck. You know what I mean? Like, that's the stuff that you've done with yourself is the things that people don't see. And that's, I can just think of you there straight away. And even in the gym, you being so consistent in the gym, sparring the likes of Burnett, you know, looking up at the other end of the gym and seeing Paddy Barnes and going, Jesus, that could be me someday. You know, with your sister Michaela, putting in the graft, like your man making the dinners, as your dad referenced to in one of the keynotes things you were doing. And I just think, like, you actually referenced before about getting in the ring's actually the easy part. People don't see everything that goes on behind it, and all the sacrifice and all the hard work, and it's a testament to you, I suppose, and even like you say about them defeats. And I listened, I don't know why you've seen the clip going about, I don't know what sport he was involved in, and the interviewer asked him about do you see this year as a failure, and he said about there is no failure in sports, you know what I mean. It's learnings, you know what I mean. And probably in defeats, like, I can only think now that it's probably them setbacks, and I would be a big believer in anybody that I'm working with, even like a lot of this stuff you can relate back into like drug abuse and drink abuse and stuff that gets here with. And I always say to, like, lads, with every setback there's an opportunity, you know what I mean. Instead of focus on what you can't do, what can you do about it? And the, like, that, in my opinion, that's the definition of resilience, of what you've just explained there, the fact that you were able to just keep bouncing back and keep going. You mentioned their high performance, and something that I'm probably only, to be honest, sort of taken seriously in the last year with Antrim. It's always sort of dipped in and out of it. Did I really want it? Did I not want it? It's a lifestyle. It's a way of life. It's not just Christ dads. It's not just, right, okay, I'll work hard for 6 months and then I'll take 6 months off. It's a way of life. That would be and I watch the High Performance podcast all the time, and I think that probably is a way of life. And explain that sort of transition then into getting that sort of call up into the Irish sort of high performance team, and having to go to Dublin and that sort of, because you're from West Belfast. You just described there, you're from Ladybrook, you went to school in St Michael's, which is a couple of 100 yards. You went to secondary school in LaSalle, which is another couple of 100 yards. Very, very small area. The same people, core group of people you mentioned, that referenced the likes of Manuel Cadell and stuff, and only the people who you were sort of growing up with. Tight, and then all of a sudden you get this phone call. Your dad obviously being your coach, Michaela being by your side all the time, and then you get this phone call being like, right, you have to, not that you have to go to I'm probably making it sound like it's a bad phone call. It's probably the best phone call you've ever got in your life, but massive transition there. Like, what was that like in terms of making that next step into high performance life and that sort of culture?
Yeah, do you know what, Donald? Like, if I'm being honest, back then when I started it, I would have been saying, like, it is the best call in my life, and at the time that is your dream. But for me, I really struggled with it because it was, just as you say, it was like you're in this such small bubble, and then all of a sudden you're like on your own in this sort of setup that has countless numbers of champions. Like, you're like a small fish in a big pond, and all of a sudden you were like a big fish in a small pond here, and all of a sudden that's just completely changed. It's like an Irish title here is like like a novice title, and that's the God's honest truth. It's like there's Olympians here, you're walking past Katie Taylor's or Paddy Barnes, McConnell, Kelly Harnden, like there's people there that's like medals coming out their ears. And
is that overwhelming?
Do you know what, Donald? In a way, yeah, it is, because it's like, in a good way. It depends obviously what way you see it, but I think for me, I felt like sort of like that imposter syndrome, though, like sort of like I don't deserve to be here. Like, these are all elite champions. And I actually got brought in, Domhnall, to the high performance. I was actually number 3. I wasn't even number 1. So
What's that mean?
So I got beat in the national championships.
Okay.
In the semi-finals, and 2 guys then went on to fight in the final, and then the guy won it. That the year it was Kieran Malloy. So this was in the middle of like an Olympic cycle. So like I was nowhere on the list to go to the Olympics before Tokyo. Like in an Olympic cycle, it's like you've got your Olympic hopeful. They go to all the tournaments, and they're sort of tipped to qualify at that weight. Right coming up to the year before it, I wasn't even in the top 3. Like I was just brought down for sparring. So I went down for sparring, and so again that whole imposter syndrome was like, I don't even deserve to be here. I'm not even the champion. Like you were like, I remember, Domhnall, like you see people get in and getting stuff off, like say massages off the physio, and you're getting supplements from the nutritionist. I was afraid to ask for that stuff because it was like, I don't even deserve to be here. I was just like, go into a shell, just survive here, just go down, spar, go to your bedroom, relax, chill out, train. Like that's the way I seen it. I was afraid to ask, and for me it was just like, don't open your mouth, know yourself, just get by and just do what you can. And for me, I struggled with that because it was when you're seeing all these people, it's like these people are the priority. You don't deserve to be here. Just listen. Like I personally struggled with it, if I'm being honest. So I just stuck the head down, just grafted. And again, like I know in a way I keep referring back to it as luck. I just feel so fortunate because Bernard Dunn at the time brought in a new system. He was performance director, and there was a new system that the champions don't get selected straight away. That they do a process like where assessments. So you're given like a time, a date, and you're going to the gym. There's no one in the gym, so like me and you would get a time and a date. Everybody else is competing as well. They have their assessments that day, but you're given a time to be in the gym. You and your opponent's just in the gym warming up together. There's 5 coaches around the ring, and you get in and you just compete. Jesus. No coaches tell you what to do or nothing. You just stand in the corner.
Apollo, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it's like. But so we had a load of assessments, and I was getting assessed with the champion. This was for to go to the World Championships, and I was going to myself like, there's no way they're going to pick me over him to go to the World Championships. He's the champion. Like he's the medal hopeful for the Olympics. And so I was just going in there, just doing my best. And all I was just going in and just trying my best. And I remember the call was up one day for the call, go into the room with the coaches to announce who had been picked, and they were calling everyone in one by one. And it was actually to go away, but we were away for 4 weeks. If you get picked, it was 2 weeks in Germany and 2 weeks in Russia. And I hated going away, don't know. And I remember sitting outside waiting, going, I hope to God I don't get picked here. I hope to God I don't get picked. Just because I hated travelling away. Don't know, I'm a real homebird. And so the guy before me, he came out, and I was trying to see the expression in his face, and he sort of looked a wee bit like down a wee bit, and I was like, oh, frick's sake, I'm getting picked here, Badgie. And so I went into the room, and all the coaches were around the table, and Bernard Dunn says to me, Aidan, you were absolutely brilliant, son. We're going to pick you for the World Championships. And I was like, right? He was like, you don't look happy. And I'm like, no, I'm happy. And that sort of way took me a wee while to sort of, like, looking back, it was a great achievement. Yeah. It's just when you're in the sort of whole process of it, it's like, I'm away from home here for 4 weeks, and I'm all new to the high performance. I'm only here down for like a few months.
And you're a kid?
I'm a kid. I'm getting picked to go away to Germany and Russia. It's like, oh, frick, I'm going away from my family, my girlfriend, all this type of stuff. But it ended up, I went away and I done really well. I could beat my second fight in the World Championships, the Pat McCormick. He actually went on to get a silver medal in it. And they were just so happy with my performance. They were like, Aidan, that was amazing. Like, we sent you out here as a test, and you done brilliant. Like, you done really, really well. So I come home, and then the national championships were a few months after that. I entered them, and I ended up beating the champion in that tournament. And I went on to win then the Irish Championships, and then that put me in the number 1 seed for the Tokyo qualifiers, and I got picked again to go to the qualifiers. And that came about that whole process of just imposter syndrome straight away through, and it was number 3. It was like, now I'm number 1. Like, and then I was like, and then the guilt sort of came in. I was like, frick, I got picked over this guy here who was sort of in the hot seat to go. And then I was like, I'm going to the qualifiers, and there's people here that's been training in high performance for years who don't even get a chance to go to the qualifiers, and there's all these things. It's like, do I deserve it? And why do I deserve it? I'm only in, and I'm getting picked to go. And it's crazy what happens, don't it? I think because you have a lot of free time when you're in the high performance. Right. You have a lot of free time, and it's like you're training, you're sleeping, you're training, you're sleeping. And all of a sudden I was a young kid running about the streets, training, coming home from school, going to training, going out with my mates, and then all of a sudden you're training, and then sitting in a room, it's like,
What do I do now?
What do I do now? And it's sort of way, it took me a while to process it. But again, it was the best thing that happened to me, Domhnall, because it taught me more about myself, and it sort of helped me in a way that understand mental health in a way, because that's where all my struggles then came, and then reaching out for help. And again, I feel so fortunate enough. At just before all this happened, and a few years before this happened, I was really, really lucky to meet my girlfriend, who, when I was actually injured and I was sort of going through the process of winning, losing, so she was a huge support for me in a way that kept me on track. She always motivated me. No, stick at it. You'll get your rewards. And again, my family, my mum and dad, they never forced me at that time before the high performance to get a job, or they weren't pushing me to go out and work. And again, I'm so lucky, because I know there's people's parents like, you can't do this, you need to get a job, and they're putting a bit of pressure. So I was really fortunate that way, Domhnall. And then my girlfriend's parents as well, like they were never like, what do? You get a job.
He's a bum, he's never going to be a boxer.
Yeah, and I
because that does happen.
Absolutely. So that's why I feel so lucky that for me, it was like everybody supported me. Like everybody was like, no, Aidan, keep going, you're doing really, really, really well. So like anybody outside that, Domhnall, who was saying to me, oh, for fuck's sake, you're not really doing well, I sort of didn't pay attention, because I knew in my mind it was like, the people I love and care about are telling me to keep it going. Yeah. So I feel so fortunate then to have that, because I think that was a huge, huge driving force as well.
That's amazing. It's so powerful. But even like going back a tiny bit there, and you mentioned there, because the whole idea of this podcast is to have them open and honest conversations and have that platform, and the fact that you even mentioned that is powerful. Like being on your own. And I can even relate to that a lot, even going into rehab 4 years ago, because like you're constantly escaping with alcohol and drugs and things like that. There at an early age, it was the GAA, like it was hurling in football, and like you probably see me in school every day against the wall, hitting the ball against the wall, not having time to think, and you're always constantly. So whenever you go into somewhere like rehab and you're sitting there, and that's what they always say about recovery, the good thing is you get your feelings back, the bad thing is you get your feelings back, because you have to sit there and actually think about what the fuck's going on here now, who am I as a person, what are my values, what do I stand for, what do I want to do in my life, all these things probably going on with you in a high performance sort of institute, which is incredible. What's the process there of getting out of your head and having a conversation with someone else? Like, was there different wee tools that you maybe gained along the way? I know for me, even like journaling, writing down how I feel, meditation, different things like that I do on a daily basis now to actually to help me, and they probably ground me a bit too. What was there a process there that you went, right, I actually need to verbalise this and actually talk to someone, because I can't keep going on around circles here in my head? Or can you relate that in any way?
Yeah, like absolutely. Like the first ever experience I had ever with like a sports psychologist was 2018 before the Commonwealth Games. Like I met a great guy, Gary Longwell. He's a sports psychologist in Sport NI, and to this day, like me and Gary have a great relationship. And that was the first sort of time that I had experienced like sports psychology, like wellness type of life skills. And for me, Gary was a huge help in my life, and another great mentor that I've been so fortunate enough to come across in life. And for me, I seen the benefits of it then at an early age, and I think it was a bit easier then because I was at the Ulster team. It was before the Commonwealth Games, so we weren't actually away as much. It was more then when I went to like Dublin, and you're away from home, you're travelling a bit more. And it was actually before the Olympics, and I was out having a coffee with a close friend of mine who works in the institute, and she was saying to me that she had seen a few wee things when I was in the high performance, and a few wee things that
patterns,
just wee patterns. And she said to me, this was right before Tokyo, she said to me, Aidan, like would you fancy like meeting someone? And I says, like straight away, your back goes up, and it's like, if I go and see someone now before Tokyo, I says thank you so much, but I don't think I would go to Tokyo. I said that I think it would open a can of worms that I don't really want to open now, and I wouldn't go to the Olympics. She said, fair enough, 100% no hassle. So I went away to Tokyo and got through the Olympics and stuff, and obviously done well, and everything was good.
Talk about that in a wee second.
Yeah. And then when I got back, because I done well, I was like, happy days. So I met her again for a coffee, and I was like, cause obviously you do well. It's like, I thought, happy days, she'll not ask no, because everything will be all good. And she said to me, do you think you should maybe go and see someone and maybe talk about it? I just said, yeah, 100%. So a few weeks later, lucky enough again, because we're supported by Sport NI and the Sport Institute of Ireland, you get these things obviously available to you because you're a carded athlete. And so next thing, she set it up, and I was then set to meet a clinical psychologist and from the institute. And I remember it was licensing, Domhnall. I think it was a Friday night. It was licensing, and I was sitting out in my car in my girlfriend's driveway, waiting on a phone call from this guy who I don't even know. I didn't know nothing about. I just remember going to myself, Domhnall. I remember just saying, Aidan, if you need help, if you want this to work, Aidan, like, you have to be vulnerable. Just tell him. It doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter what he is. This is his job. He's professional. Tell him everything, Aidan, what you've been going through, and that was alright. So I picked up the phone, Domhnall, and that phone call changed my life forever. And honestly, like, if someone said to me now, looking back through the struggles of, like, through the Olympics and, like, the things what you went through in the high performance, would you change it? I would say no, because them struggles led me to meet this man who's Paul Gaffney, and someone who I work with this day is someone who I'm just, again, so fortunate, Domhnall. Like, I know I keep going over it, but I just feel so lucky. Like, and that's a God's honest truth. I just feel so lucky. And when the moment I lifted the phone, Domhnall, I just heard by his voice, I just said, this is the man for me. And going on from there, like, it was like, I describe him, I honestly describe him as, someone says to me, like, who's Paul Gaffney? I say to myself, it's like when you're reading a book or when you're watching a movie, and it's like, who's this guy that helps people? And you're like, he's this mystic, he lives up in the mountain, but you have to go through this whole process of self-discovery and challenges, and you have to find him yourself, but he lives away up in that mountain, and when you find him, he'll just change your life forever. And I always say that to him, and I just think he was a real key part of my life at that moment in time. Along with him and Gary Longwell, I still work with strongly this day, and I just think they're the most amazing people in this world. Like,
and how much do you value that then, in terms of, like, of course it helps you so much in your life and being comfortable in your own skin, recognise them sort of patterns of behaviours, as we said, your values, all that sort of stuff that we're talking about, but do you feel much freer then? Do you begin to enjoy boxing a wee bit more if you're going in then and starting, like, knowing your own value, basically? Like, I think whenever you know your own value and after you have them conversations and you feel like this imposter syndrome, like that actually is a thing. Like, you're not the only person feeling like that. There's probably a lot of other people in that gym feeling the same way that you're feeling. But of course, you're in that sort of environment. You can't really verbalise it because we're primed athletes and we're trying to, like, that being vulnerable. I have a wee vulnerability group now with a couple of the boys who play with Tyrone. Like, them boys are going and winning all Irons and stuff, you know what I mean? And that's the value they see in being vulnerable and putting their problems out on the table without judgment. How much did that help you then in terms of in the ring and then training and then all that other stuff that comes with it?
Yeah, like, it was massive, Domhnall, because, like, looking back now, I never enjoyed my whole career, like, from a kid.
Because you're constantly worrying and just
100%. Like, right up, I only enjoyed my career, Domhnall. And if you're looking back, like, in the last year is the only year that I've ever enjoyed my career. Didn't enjoy the process of the Olympics just because I was struggling that much. Nobody really knows it. I was just struggling that much since I went into the high performance. And it's not the high performance that it causes. Obviously, it's just the process of being away from home and just struggling with other things that maybe you didn't have a chance when you were younger to deal with because you were that busy. And all of a sudden you're now in a process of, you have so much free time and all your sort of demons come out and all these things and they come to you. And really, like, the only tournament, Domhnall, that I've ever enjoyed in my life was the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham there.
That's amazing.
And the God's honest truth, 2 weeks before the Commonwealth Games, I had actually said I wasn't going. 2 weeks we were in a training camp and we were in the hall, we were just on sparring, and we were in the gym, and because it was COVID was on, so you weren't allowed home, so we were in the gym training sparring, and I just bursted out crying in the gym, in the middle of the gym, like just in the middle of a session, just busted out crying, and I went over to Michaela, and next thing I started crying in front of her too, and she put the towel over my head and brought me out into the hall, and I just literally couldn't stop crying. And like, for me, Michaela's my best friend in the whole world. Like, it's someone I look up to, tell her absolutely everything. She knew that I was struggling for a long time, and I just kept crying, and she was hugging me, and I says to her, I'm done, I'm retired from boxing, I'm finished. I've been going through a lot, and I'm at a point now, I feel I'm ready to retire and I can't go on. So I was alright. So obviously I had to go and tell the coach, John Conlon, he was the head coach, and I have so much respect for John. And I went to John, I said, John, can I meet with you? And he says, yes, 100%. He says, get something to eat there and come in and see me after. And so we went up in Georgetown, and I was having my food, and he was in the cafe next door waiting on me. and I was eating my food, Domhnall, and so obviously a man of that stature, like high performance coach and the main man, and like John's a real good guy. Like usually if you're going to anything or any coaches, I would always have that nerves of no, like, because you always want to impress the coach, and I was sitting there Domhnall, and I had no nerves and no nothing. I was just like, I'm just going in, I'm telling John like what I'm going through, and so I was alright. So I remember walking out and going into the cafe next door, and he says, well son, sit down, and we were talking away, and I just said to him, John, really struggling here. Told him everything, just what I've been going through. Told him like meeting a clinical psychologist every week and doing all the work and what I've been going through. And he says, Aidan, we had a good yarn, and he just says, Aidan, go home. He said, and I said, John, like we're in COVID and all, no one's allowed to go home. And he says, Aidan, go home. So straight away, like I had so much respect for that in itself, because it was like, I don't know what would have happened if he had said no, stay. I don't know what would have happened. And so he said go home. So straight away, I jumped in the car and I went to my caravan down in Cornlough, as we were talking about. So I was alright. So over the weekend I said to Courtney, the girlfriend, I said, Courtney, no boxing, no talking about boxing. There was class fights and all on that weekend too, and I was like, we're not watching it, whatever, Chinese, tins of coke, the whole lot. And so it was Sunday morning, we were sitting in the Harbour Lights, and I was eating the fry and I had a tin of coke. Bear in mind, this was like a week and a half before the Commonwealth Games, and I was sitting, and there was a man and a woman sitting next to us, and I seen them looking over. I was like, frick, they keep looking over, and before they get up to leave, they come over, and the girl said to me, hey boy, you shouldn't be eating that fry. God. And I was like, frick, I'm retired from boxing, I can do what I want. And so I was dead on. But so before I had left in the fray, John says, yeah, the only thing is, like, don't worry about coming back, take whatever time you need, no hassle. He said, the only thing is, there's a thing on Sunday night for the media, and because you're the Olympic bronze medalist, the captain of the team, that sort of want you out, but he says, I can get you out of it, no hassle, don't be worrying. So I was, at the time, I was like, right, John, I'll sort of way think about it. So on the Sunday morning, I wasn't even going to go back, and I just said to my girlfriend, I says, you know what, out of complete respect for John Conlon, I'm going to go back, just because of how well he managed. Like, I was, for someone of that stature, like, the man management there was amazing, and I have so much respect for that. So I went back, and it ended up a week later, I just said, frig, I'll go to the Commonwealth Games. Says I'll go. He says under one condition, like, I completely enjoy it. I didn't want a gold medal, I didn't want to win a fight, I didn't want to do anything, don't know. I just says I'm going there purely to enjoy it. I had a fry every morning. Every morning in the Commonwealth Games I had a fry. Every morning a fry, the whole lot, hash brown sausage, beans, bacon, eggs, and my ham was bad at the time as well, and so I had a big ice bucket in my room filled with ice. So when I was going out to training, I at the bottom of where I stayed in the room was, obviously when you go to them games, it's all free, all the stuff's free, coke and all the food, and the lift at the bottom of my room was the stand where you get the tins of coke, so, and the bottles of coke. So I was going down there getting all sorts of bottles of coke, going up, putting them in the ice bucket, going training, coming back. Like, obviously we train, like, when you're away you're always training like wee rooms in the hotel, like wee conference rooms. So we were going and training there with everybody. Coming back, I was going back to the room, had like a nice cold bottle of coke sitting there. So I was drinking that, just happy as Larry, eating muffins. I was going, I didn't care about the medal, Domhnall. I just says I'm here to purely enjoy it. I was watching Dairy Girls every night. I was watching Mortimer and Whitehouse going fishing, and I was just literally just there to enjoy it. And every day I had a fry going to before even the day of the fight. I would never have done that. That's not what they say, high performance culture. But I was there in a different mind frame of I'm here to enjoy it. And even when I was speaking to the guys in the media and stuff after, they were saying, you're going for gold now, you're going for gold, and I just kept saying, I'm honestly not. I'm just here to enjoy it. And they were like, do you not want gold? And I was like, if gold comes, it's a bonus. But for me now, it's just take every day as it comes. I'm just so happy to be here. I wasn't even coming here this time last week, and it ended up, I went on and I won the gold medal. And I remember the night after I won the gold medal, because I'd been watching Dairy Girls the whole time, and I got home the night after winning the medal, and I got in the shower, and I got out of the shower, and it was such a night, the sun was splitting the trees, and I had my own room, so I had the door open, and there was a wee balcony, and the sun was beaming through, and I just sat down, and everywhere I go, I bring Cool FM with me. Everywhere I go, it's like a home thing. Yeah. So I was always listening to Cool FM. Pete, Paul, and Rebecca, I listen to that anywhere I go in the world. I tell Pete that all the time. Anywhere I go in the world, I listen to Pete, Paul, and Rebecca every morning without fail. So I was sitting there that night after the gold medal, and I was the sun was beating in, and the towel room, only out there showering, the Cool FM was on. And as I was sitting there, I just sat down just to say, thank God that's all over. Thank God it's over. And as I was sitting there, I looked up. And next thing, the song on the radio come on out of Dairy Girls. And I went, like as I was sitting there, it just felt like a moment that it was just meant to be. That wee song, because that was the song that was keeping me going through. You know the wee song in Derry Girls. What's I forget. Yes, yeah, Cranberries. and so I was sort of even going out and all going to the fights and all. I was listening to the Cranberries and all. And as I was sitting there, the competition over, the exact same song came on the radio, and I just went to myself, I don't know, like if that's a spiritual thing or if it was meant to be or whatever. But for me, it was just like, Aidan, you enjoyed the whole process, you enjoyed it, you were yourself, you expressed yourself, and it just felt, don't know, like everything just came together in that moment. And that moment and that time of my career was something that I remember forever, just for that complete purpose.
And that last sort of 2-3 minutes are probably one of the most powerful segments I've had since I've started this podcast, Aidan, because it was just you being you, and then you going into the Commonwealth Games and just you being you and accepting, hold on, Matt, I'm not going to be defined by winning a gold medal, and I'm not going to let these people define me by winning a gold medal.
100%.
Like, I'm going to go and enjoy myself, express myself, and just see what happens. And if my best isn't good enough, then that's okay.
100%, don't know.
And like me and Marty talked about this the other week about we're always constantly, and you actually said it somewhere along there whenever we were talking. You said you were only trying your best. Because so many people were trying to like be the best, or trying to do like be the best in the world. You tried to do that whenever you were going into the Olympics and do things like that. And look at I'm not saying that there was, like, obviously you got a bronze medal, it was amazing, but as a result of your own sort of well-being and mental health, compared to the Commonwealth Games and being like, do you know what? I'm going to be my best, and if my best looks like right now today, eating the fry, then that's okay, just for today. 100%. So see, tomorrow if I wake up and want to be a high performance athlete and live my life like a high performance athlete, then I will.
100%.
But for now, this is just where I'm at, and that's alright. And sometimes you can just blossom. And I'd be a big believer, listen, I'd have my faith and be massively into sort of spirituality and stuff like that. I think it all sort of boils down to love or self-love and looking after yourself, and basically what you described there through that process, sticking on Derry Girls, having a fry, having a tin of Coke. In some cases that is a form of self-love, and that sort of full circle moment, going and winning the gold, having Pete Pallower back on and the Cranberries coming on, is nearly like that sort of spiritual. Not, you know, I don't want to get too hairy-fairy with you here, but
I agree,
that sort of and that, I got goosebumps whenever you described that, because it's a saying that at that time in your life you've done things right. Powerful, unbelievable, and that's like I have a sweat off that. Honestly, so inspiring. But even going back, and I think that, you know, growing up, I suppose, like you're watching all these people, you watch Mick, you watch Paddy, obviously you won a golden Commonwealth and it's unbelievable, like some achievement for someone from West Belfast to do that. But the Olympics, do you know, and even listening to you before about having that sort of Olympic dream, okay, all this is going on in the background, and it wasn't terrible, like obviously there's, and we're not going to say that life, because you did have a good life and stuff like that, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but you know, things were still relatively successful. But explain that, even that process of going in and qualifying, and you referenced before about, you know, Michaela coming down and she had her golden ticket, and that, you know, 2 kids just going into a gym, and like brother, sister, your dad in the background at this stage, and you're both going to the Olympics. Like, what explain that, like what. That must be so special, is it? I know with all the other things that we just talked about, but even in that moment, like, just like, what did that feel like?
To be honest, don't know. Like, I really don't think that. Not that I don't even think. I know for a fact if Michaela hadn't been there throughout the whole journey, the whole process, there's no way like I would have been anywhere near where I am now, and that's the God's honest truth. And I come right back again to that sort of fortunate piece, because I'm just so fortunate to have Michaela, have my great parents, like my girlfriend, like being like just a great girlfriend, and her parents being great, and just having that great support, having great mentors, like even talking about that whole thing with the Coke, like Gary Longwell, for me, I remember him saying like, I love just a tin of Coke, and I'm saying, well, where in the rule book does it say if you have a tin of Coke a day before a fight that you're going to lose a fight? And for me it was that process of like, that's so true. And so I'm just so lucky, don't know. But going back to Michaela, like, I just feel so blessed. And if someone had said to me, would you go back, if you could go back and do it again on your own, like, and do it differently, would you? And I'd say I wouldn't change that for the world.
Yeah.
And the God's honest truth, Domhnall, if someone said to me, "Are you happy enough?" Like, even with a medal, if someone had said to me, if it was me win a medal or Michaela win a medal, I would 100% look in you in the eye and I'd say Michaela deserves that medal 100 times more than me. And if I could, in that medal, if I could give that away and give the achievements away to anybody in this world, it would be Michaela. I feel personally that she deserves it more than me. And I, even in the Commonwealth, don't know when she won the gold medal, I 100% happier for her. 100%. Like the gold medal, I go back even to the gold medal. Like I was standing in the airport, we were coming back, and even after it was like it was great to win, but for me it was like, even after the Commonwealth, after the Olympics, because the Olympics is so the pinnacle. It's like you've done it, and you got the medal, and for the Olympics, and it's like for the Commonwealths, it was like, is this it? I remember standing, like honestly, in the airport, going, like we were all getting photos, and it was like, is this it?
All that for that?
Like all that for does this what I go like? Is this what a gold medal feels like? And it's like, I'm happy as Laurie going out fishing. I'm happy as Laurie having a Chinese and a tin of Coke. I'm happy as Laurie going out playing a game of golf. I'm happy as Laurie walking the dog with a girlfriend and spending the week in Carnlough. Like, for me, it was a realisation of, even over the years, Domhnall, it's the company you keep, it's the people you spend the time with. And I know people probably look at me and say, no, he's rubbish. If you said take the medals off him, would you still be thinking like that? I would 100%, because it's not about the medals. Like the relationship me and Michaela have now over the years that we've built up through being away, the connection, and like for me now, that means more than what a medal could ever have. Don't know, the Olympic medal sitting in my house now, the Commonwealth medal sitting in my house now. Like talking about my sister now gives me a feeling that it surpasses, it surpasses that. Me having a great relationship with my girlfriend, with my mum, my dad, her family. These are relationships that Domhnall, that for me outweigh any medal, because okay, it's great to win and it's great to have and it's great to, but medals don't bring you happiness. Medals don't bring you all this stuff that you think it's going to bring you. Like even me going up the whole story of going into the high performance and looking at all these people, am I happier now than what I was then? No. And I've got all that. If I was walking in now and looking at, say, here's Adain Walsh, no, I'm not. And I've got the medals. Okay, you can always win more, but it's the work you do inside. And right now, the people that I've met over the years, I don't want to keep going back, but I've just been so lucky to meet great people. God's honest truth, meet great people and just have relationships, because for me that's God's honest truth. And maybe it does take you to win a medal, or maybe some other people say, no, I want a medal more than any to be friends with such and such. For me, don't know. And that's why now it's sort of so important what you're doing. It's like, this is more important. How can I help a young person? Because when I'm 50 and 60, I would far rather a young person say to me, he helped me with my mental health when I was 13, 14, 15 onwards, than to go, oh, he's an Olympic medalist and he told me how to throw a jab. Yeah. That's just for me. And what you're doing, that's why I have so much respect for what you're doing, for being vulnerable, for being open. Because in boxing, there's so many people with this mask on. It's like this ego. You go into high performance and it's like, I don't want to for me it was like, I don't want to tell that psychologist how I'm feeling, because he's working with another guy who I'm competing against, and you're in the gym and you're trying to outdo him and he's out trying to do you, and it just comes to a point that it's like, I don't want to outdo anybody. I just want to do my best. I want to be the best that I can be, and whether that be in boxing or outside, it's completely irrelevant for me if it's in the ring. Like, I would rather, honestly, don't know, the God's honest truth, I would rather help someone young and go, I feel amazing, than actually going, I won an Irish title, or I won a medal because of the advice you give me. Because that once that medal's done, you're gonna maybe want another medal, and you're never gonna be satisfied. But if I help you feel better in yourself, you're gonna look back and go, that person made me feel good. And I get that done by the people that made me feel good, and by the psychologists that I work with, and the clinical psychologists and friends, and whether it be coaches. You know yourself, one of the best coaches in the world aren't the coaches that know all the tactics and all that. It's the coaches that make you feel good about yourself, who actually could go to yourself, I'm actually growing into a good person here. And they don't tell you what to do. You need to do this. They let you find out for yourself. They draw it out of you, because I believe we all have it in us and all. We have everything, and that if people can just draw out that wee bit more in them, I think that is worth any colour medal or any type of money in the world. And
that's so true, and we reference that all the time about your Adain Walsh, and I actually sent, to be fair, my own Domhnall Nugent to maybe like an Antrim Hurler. Adain Walsh, I sent the our graphic designer know for post today.
Yeah.
Adain Walsh, Olympic medalist. That's not who you are. Do you know what I mean? It's not who you are.
No.
You know, you're not Adain Walsh, the boxer. You know, maybe part of who you are. You're not Adain Walsh, the person who won gold in the Commonwealth Games. That's not. You cannot be defined by that, and that's basically what you're saying there. Any advice to even young kids that, you know, and I say it all the time too, and I sound like a broken record, but it's so true. We live in a world where we're like, I'll be happy when, whatever, I'll get that gold medal or get that silver medal or I'll lose weight or get on the Antrim team or and then you get there and like you're saying, you're standing there, all the media, you're a medal around your neck and you go, is this what it feels like? Is this it? 100%. I still haven't filled up my own cup in terms of I'm not happy with it myself. So is this bit of materialistic thing going to make me 100%. Happy? No, because of I haven't done the work. But whenever you do the work, and you can relate to this now because we're able to sit and have this conversation, and I suppose the self-awareness that you have, Aidan, is fucking incredible. And I'm so proud of you, honestly. It's amazing, and you can feel that energy off you. Like, whenever you do the work, then all them things just become bonuses in terms of, right, okay, I'll give this a rattle, I'll do my best, but I'm going to wake up on Monday morning and be like, I'm still Aidan Walsh, I'm still a human being, I'm a good boyfriend, I'm a good son, I'm a good brother, I love going fishing, and that's what makes me happy, that's 100%. What brings me happiness, not what decision three judges make at the side of a ring on a Saturday night. Like, powerful, unbelievable. And even explain to me a wee bit more just before we'll finish off. I know you have to shoot on, but even you mentioned there a couple of times about the people and the people we surround ourselves with, and we, whether you like it or not, and it's something that doesn't annoy me because I'm probably past that stage now, but I think we live in a bit of a society where, and I've said this before too, where people want to see you do well until you do well, and then there's a certain amount of maybe jealousy creeps in, or people want to say certain things or whatever. You know, you always get that, and I think it's nearly a West Belfast thing too. Explain to me how much, you know, surrounding yourself with good people and not having to be sort of everybody's best friend and having to say yes to everybody, because I know there's, for a fact, whether it's GA or boxing or soccer, there's a lot of young people sort of watching in going, right, how, you know, what is really going on, like, and they're sort of starting to switch on to this sort of self-awareness in terms of being a yes person and just having the ability to say no and filling up your own cup and being happy and comfortable in your own skin. How important is that, and how important has that been in terms of your journey of self-discovery, if you want to look at it, or healing, or being comfortable in your own skin in terms of your network of people?
Well, if I'm being totally honest, Domhnall, I still struggle with that, and I say no, and that's a big probably thing, because even when I won the medal in Tokyo, the first thing the psychologist back then that came up to me, it was Kev McManaman, plays for Dublin. He was our sports psychologist for Tokyo, and he came up and he says, Aidan, I think actually Michaela went and had a wee word with him. It was like, friggin', he needs to learn how to say no, especially now, especially after the Olympics, but a wee bit of exposure. And that was the first thing he said to me. He was like, Aidan, you need to learn how to say no. You need to learn that when these people come and ask you to do this, you need to learn how to say no. So I think, Domhnall, I'm still trying to find that balance, because again, like, we're all struggling, we're all human, we all need that help, and it's like sometimes you want to help the whole world, and it's like sometimes at that moment you can't, because especially if you're filming, like if you're pouring from an empty cup, you need to look after yourself. And the first big realization that I got at, Domhnall, was after the Olympics. And there was I think someone from the media, they kept phoning my dad, and they're like because it was all new to us too, like we'd never experienced anything like on that level, and they kept phoning my dad and phoning, come and get an interview with Aidan, because we got a phone in the Olympics. It was like an Olympic style phone, so I was using that when I get back, so no messages were going to that phone, which was great. And so they kept phoning my dad, so my dad kept saying to me, Aidan, these people keep phoning me for interviews. So I was like, Daddy, I'm not doing that. It was advised at the time, sort of way, just take a step back and go away for a few days. And so I was alright. So a few days went on, and he kept saying, Aidan, these people keep torturing me for a message or an interview. So I was sitting, I was about to go to Carnlough. It was 4 o'clock. The girlfriend was getting me, and because I had broken ankle, so I couldn't drive from the Olympics, and she was driving down. So it was about 3:45, and as I was sitting there, my daddy's phone rang, and it was the people looking for an interview, and so I said, "Friggin' Daddy, I have 15 minutes here. She's not coming to 4 o'clock. I'll do it." So I actually rung the number, and I says, "Hello," and it says, "Yes." I says, "It's Aidan Walsh here. We was looking at a wee interview." And it says, "Oh yes, great." I says, I'm heading away for the weekend, so I'll just get it done now. And I done it, no hassle. So I was alright. I was lying in bed. I'd said to them, I'm going on holiday, so after this my phone will be off, so in case you're trying to get me or anything, it'll be off. So I was dead on. They were all like, yes, thank you. So I was lying in bed the next morning, Domhnall, and it was about 7 o'clock. I was up because I was still on like a bit of a high from the Olympics. It was all new, and I was lying in bed, and Courtney was sleeping, and my phone rang at 7 in the morning. It was the same number. So I was like, frick, I can't answer as everybody's in bed and all, and I was like, I'm not even doing any more media. So I put it down, and next thing it rang again. It rang about 3 or 4 times. I was like, frick, this is madness. Next thing I looked, and it was the media, and this says, could you just answer? I just want to ask you a few quick questions, please. So I was like, frick, I can't answer, and like I already done the interview. Then another message, can you please take a photo of your Chinese with a Chinese and a tin of Coke outside your caravan? And I was like, frick, this is my caravan. This is somewhere like it's like private for me. It's like a wee bit of an escape type of go down. So yeah. So I was sort of way like, for me then, that was my first sort of realisation that if you'd be too, some people can take your kindness for a weakness. Like I went out of my way and I felt like I'd done more than enough, and I was like, gee, like I've really tried to help the person, because don't know, we're all trying to make a living. That people's trying to make a living from the media, and I completely understand that. And if I can help anybody, I would. But for me, that was that real thing of like, I went out of my way to do it, and I just kept wanting more and more and more when I'd said I was going away. So for me, that happened early on, like straight away after the Olympics. So for me, that was a good lesson that I learned that, okay, Aidan, there's only so much that you can do until you actually again are just helping, and like you're just sort of getting took advantage of. So it's about having good people around you. Like Michaela, for instance, like I know she's in sports, but she would be a great manager, because she would be like to me, Aidan, don't do that, you're not doing that, you've already done it. So she always keeps me right. But sometimes I don't know, like because you just have, like, everybody's out to make a living, everybody's like, and you have to understand that too, including me too. Yeah. So, but sometimes it's just being able to step back and just say sorry, not today, or maybe can I leave it to another day. But I quickly learned that lesson, and thank God, because if it had been on, don't know, there's certain things that you just, especially when you're doing so much, like media back then was so big because COVID was on at the time of the Olympics, so it even made that sort of exposure a wee bit bigger, because everybody was watching the TV. But for me, don't know, it was like, when you were in the village, it was like, people were winning Olympic medals every day. You're walking past Olympic medals, like, what's happening? And so it was like, it was just all like normal. And then all of a sudden you get home, it was like, everybody wants interviews, who's phoning you? And it's like, how do you learn from that? But again, coming back to the people, I have great people around me, don't know, the sort of way say, Aidan, take a step back, son, or Aidan, whether it be my mum, my dad, my girlfriend, her parents, Michaela, or Paul Gaffney, Gary Longwell, great people all supporting me to sort of, if I needed anything, don't I just phone up and say, what are you reckon about this? And they would give me a bit of advice, and I would do it, and it would be like happy days. But then that's just, again, to having good people around you, don't know, and not everybody has that, and I just feel really fortunate to have good people.
Class, unreal. And then just a wee bit about the work you're doing now, Aidan. Like I suppose, like you started up a weekly meet up or class or whatever, something that we should do something together, like definitely, because it's amazing for the community. Like, what does that look like? Where'd that come from? What's the idea behind it, or what are you doing?
Yeah, so like I just thought, don't know, like there's so many young people, especially in boxing, I see it all the time with this mask on, this sort of this persona, and it's like when you sort of tap into it and realise that there's so many people struggling, and it was just sort of way, like, if I can get a young person out a week, like a young male, in terms of get out training, share a wee bit of, like, a bit of conversation around a coffee, or go a walk, or do a bit of pads, or just something along those lines, don't know. And I just thought to myself, why not do it? I don't want any money from it. It's completely free, and it's just something that I have real enthusiasm about, because it's like, many times when I was younger, if someone had said to me, like an Olympic medalist, or well, even if it was someone just from the boxing club saying, "Here, son, do you want to get out and we'll go a wee down there around the park and we'll go do a wee bit of pads?" I would have been like, "That's amazing," and I would have been like, "Yeah," and they're buying you a coffee, and I would have been like, "He's bought me a coffee and stuff." So I just sort of says, if I could do that for one young person a week, what, it's amazing. And for me, it's just sort of getting it out there. Especially young males in the community, don't know, especially yourselves included. It's like, if you can help someone out, why not? Like, what does it cost you? Like a $2.50 for a cup of coffee, and so it's amazing. And I'm just so thankful that it's had a great response, and that, like, I'm just trying to help as many people as I can. And whether it be like going out swimming, or out for a run, or out for a walk, out for a talk, out for a coffee, whatever it be, don't know. But again, you're an inspiration for me, because what you're doing, and what, like, it's amazing, and you're someone I look up to, don't know, because again, opening up, and you're setting the way of, like, someone in your stature and your achievements, and it's like coming out and saying I struggle with mental health, and then that gives me the platform to say, I'm actually struggling, and that gives me the courage to say, well, Donald Nugent can step out and talk about it, I can step up and talk about it, and then if another young person steps up and says, well, they're talking about their mental health, I'm going to maybe get on and see if I can see a counsellor, a therapist, a clinical psychologist, or... So again, Donald, it's just amazing what you do. So big shout out to you, bro, because you're the one that said that.
No, it's class, and you're right. It's all about creating that ripple effect. And it's a quote that I use all the time: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Go together.
And the more people that we can bring together and
100%.
creating that conversation, and a platform of vulnerability, and just being our true authentic selves, and I think 100%. It's so powerful. Aidan, that was one of the best conversations we've had, honestly, and the energy you can feel it off you.
Thank you.
We wish you every best of luck and
Thank
success
you.
going forward.
Likewise.
In the boxing, I suppose, stay amateur for another way, maybe hit the pros. What's are you just staying in the day, see what happens?
Yeah, just trying to see what the sort of best options in life are, don't know, if I'm being honest, and I just think enjoyment is key for me now. If you ever stop enjoying something, stop doing it, whether it be work, sport, anything. So for me, it's just like, see what happens, enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, and see where it takes me.
Class, Aidan. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
really appreciate some chat. Thank you, mate. Thank you. And a huge thanks again to Used Cars NI for supporting this season. Massive help and support from Anthony and all the teams. So www.usedcarsni.com for all your car needs, selling, buying, all that crack. Really appreciate it. And I suppose anyone who is affected by what myself and Aidan just spoke about, please do reach out and ask for help. You can message our Instagram page or Facebook page, and we will steer you in the right direction to go and get professional help when it is needed. But I'm sure you all agree that was so inspiring, and for someone like an Olympian, Commonwealth Games gold medalist to come in here and to put everything out on a plate like that is just unbelievable. And I'll definitely go and have a good weekend, and I'm sure you all have a good start to the week after listening to that on a Sunday evening or a Monday morning. So thanks very much, and I'll see you all next week. Cheers.